What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of the Willpower Podcast. If you haven't had the chance yet, please check out episode 1, where I get to interview Zena E2S1. Now, today I have a special guest. I have my guy Edward over here, but before I really introduce him, I want to give the why I'm doing this. So, my episode 1, I got to interview a Harvard graduate, a professional basketball player, and someone who's just become an author. He's got his life quite figured out and established, but I also want to give a different perspective and interview people that are earlier on in their journey, early adulthood, and even late youth, right? And I get the pleasure of talking to someone today that has had an impact on me, and I've had the joy of knowing you and having an impact on your life as well. So I'm excited to do a deep dive on our journey, a deep dive on everything we've accomplished together and your life specifically in the last year, and let's get right into it. With that, today I'm interviewing Edward Abbott.
Yes.
And Edward is a good friend of mine, but more importantly, he's a mentee of mine. I've been working for about a year, and he's 20 years old, studying psychology at Carleton University here in Ottawa, Canada. And we're going to learn a bit about his story, a bit about the work that we've done together, and figure out what's next for you in the future, what you're going to be working towards. So, Edward, welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. Thank you. It's an honor to be here, man.
Thank you.
Yes,
so I want to jump straight into it. So tell me a bit about your upbringing and even how you got into basketball. I know you were born and raised in Senegal, but tell me a bit about your childhood and how did you find your love for the game?
Pretty much growing up, my dad always played basketball. He played varsity for his school. And then when he moved to Senegal, there was not a lot of basketball. It was mostly soccer. So like that's the main sport over there. And he just pretty much put it in my hands. I was like playing soccer, playing basketball, and then in elementary school, I was always like the best playing amongst my friends. It sounds like I'm trying to brag, but I'm not. It's just like nobody played basketball, right? So yeah, even my older brother was amazing, and I was always playing. So eventually got to high school, not that good in soccer. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna revert back to what I'm good at, basketball. So ended up beating guys that were like 2-3 grades above me. And then my brother was like, yeah, you have to take this more seriously. And then eventually I told my parents, but you know, my mom is the type of person that grew up with a lot of hoopers, my dad as well, and they saw that it wasn't a real dream, right? They didn't believe in the real dream, but that's just them being protective and being good parents, right? So yeah, that's how I fell in love with the game, loved it, because I was like, yeah, you can't guard me, right? That's just
awesome.
How it was, yeah.
How did you find that being in a place where obviously basketball is not the main sport, how did soccer help you in your benefit to be a better basketball player?
Definitely the footwork. The footwork is always there, but it was always like an escape. Like sports is an escape for people, right? It's like if I was playing any type of sports, that was what I was going for. It was like escaping, having fun with friends. It's like I'm not thinking about anything else in the outside world. So like not worried about homework, not worried about anything else, strictly worried about passing this guy in front of me or like having fun with my friends. So that was like the main goal. And then I remember it got really serious like every like break at school, like lunch break, anything. It was like you would have thought we were in like a Champions League final or something. Every day it was like,
I love it.
Yeah, so it was just competitive and we loved it. And it was a sort of sign of status. Like if you're good at this, you're that guy. And yeah, my older brother.
You were that guy.
Not yet. My older brother was, because he was playing like he was like the goalkeeper for our elementary school and our high school. So I was like, okay, I saw how cool he was, and I saw like a lot of dudes of his class were like really cool. So I was like, yeah, I want to be that person. So yeah, that was pretty much what I was chasing. So mainly the love for the game came from like my brother and my dad, and yeah, it was just very competitive, man.
That's awesome. You mentioned your brother. We also mentioned your parents. Talk a bit more about the influence your parents had on you and how they made you shape you as not only as an athlete but as a person.
Of course. I think in some sense, I feel like they've seen it all because my mom is from the U.S. She's second generation Senegalese. And then my dad is from the U.S. and then he's from Virginia. So they had like 2 different worlds growing up and somehow they met. And then to have like 2 people in 2 different worlds and then able to share their experiences with you, and then not only moving from the U.S. with 2 kids and then moving to Senegal, it was pretty powerful.
I want to take a quick second to thank today's sponsor, Nobody. However, if you're a brand, business, or service and you want to promote what you have going on my platform, you can send me a message on Instagram at willpower.podcast or send me an email, which can be found in the description down below. and please enjoy the rest of the show. Tell me a bit more about what your dad does and the work that he does within the community.
My dad started off as a teacher. He was my first grade teacher, first and second grade teacher, and then eventually he was just doing that most of the time, and then he was tutoring after that, and then he ended up getting a job at the NBA Academy. So that's where he works now, and then he's the head of education.
A bit more about what that role transpires. Like, what does he do specifically when it comes to being in that role?
So pretty much a lot of these dudes that they recruit to come in they don't have a really good education. So they come in, and in order to make it D1, you have to have an education, right? That's number one. They've always taught me that. They're both teachers, so they always taught me that education is number one, right? So he pretty much came in so that he can get these kids the education they need, and that was his main goal. He was like, yeah, okay, league is number two, D1 is number two. You guys have an opportunity to have an education you guys did not have before. So he was like, yeah, this is what I'm providing for you guys. So he brought in some teachers and brought in other tutors that could help these kids get the grades they need in order to go D1. And a lot of
that's so much bigger than just the game, right? Like he's pushing a lot of them through the game of basketball, but to emphasize is saying that making to the league or making professional basketball should not be your priority. It's how can you use basketball as a foundation to make you become a great person. If you make it professional basketball, great, but if not, you get your education to fall back on, you got a career for yourself. So that's amazing. And then your mom as well. I know she's been a huge impact on your life. Tell me what she does.
Yeah, she has currently an association called Cœur Imagination, which
Can you say it one more time, sorry?
Cœur Imagination.
Okay.
So it means Imagination Africa is what they call it. And then pretty much she came in, and I remember growing up, she would have this organization in our living room, and then she'd just be in there with her colleagues just working, right? And I'd be in the middle of it playing whatever, like dribbling a ball in the middle of the living room, right? And yeah, so her organization focuses on bringing education around Africa and around kids that don't have access to education in Africa. So that's pretty much what she was focused on. And then she opened up a school. It started off as like in a museum. She took behind the museum, there's like this little spot that she rented out every day so that the kids can come in as like an after school program where they could do all these activities, whether it was like playing soccer or whether it was just like art, anything that they could do to express themselves. And then later on, she rented this house and she opened up like this school, and everybody could come in, right? Anybody could come in and then just learn things, right? You would have a lot of things that had to do with art, learning about African history, because we mostly have French schools, so we didn't know much about African history, right? So we were learning more about our country than we were at our actual schools. So yeah, she had a huge impact into my character and introducing me to what I am for real and not what my school is showing me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, yeah. And you mentioned that she started this foundation within the living room, so in her own space. Yeah. What was that influence on you seeing that firsthand? You're obviously too young to really understand it, but looking back on it now that you're 20, what do you feel like how that affected you and impacted you witnessing that?
Well, now she'll probably say, yeah, I told you so. Because my whole life I was like, rebellious about how I want to carry myself, but yeah, I can see the grind and what it took for her, because our whole life, that's what she was doing, right? Trying to push herself to try to get that. And then I think it rubbed off on all of us. Because even my brother, I think my brother and my sister, we all go get it for ourselves, right? She was like, yeah, nothing is given. We have to go get it for ourselves. And the number of times I overheard her on the phone talking to someone to try to get what she wanted no matter what. So I think that's just the character she implemented in us, is like, no matter how many times someone has told us no, that we still went to go get it, because nothing is given, nothing is given.
Everything's earned. I love that. And I mean, shout out to mom and dad, obviously, for all the amazing work that they do back in Senegal. I want to touch on your brother a little bit. Yeah. So your brother, you mentioned a lot about him, his impact on you. Talk a bit more about the positive influence that he was and having someone you can look up to directly and his success in sports, but more importantly, success as a person and your character off the field and off the court. Yeah. So growing up, I think between all our siblings, I was the closest in age to him. So, and he was also, when I was in first grade, he was in fourth. So he was also always like the big bro role in everything, right? So it was just, I was looking up to him because I was doing a lot of things that he was doing at an amazing level. So I was like, I want to be just like him. I want to be just like him
And then we didn't have a great relationship growing up. It was kind of like, yeah, he was like, yeah, I'm following him everywhere. He's like, he doesn't
You're
really
the
like that.
annoying
Yeah,
little brother.
annoying little brother, pretty much. So he was kind of annoyed by it, but he never took it to heart. He always followed me everywhere, and he always like brought me with him no matter what, and showed me things. And then we had a rocky relationship at first, but then he was ready to show me anything that would lead to my success. So
I love it. That's
yeah,
awesome.
he's
That's
amazing.
beautiful.
Same thing with my older sister as well. I can't
Yeah.
leave her out of it.
No,
of course.
absolutely.
Yeah.
When it comes to the basketball scene specifically, talk
Yeah.
about the basketball scene in Senegal,
Okay.
and then even talk about how that compares to your experience here in Canada and Ottawa.
Enough. Early childhood, it wasn't big at all. It didn't grow. For example, like I said, my brother, he was playing, but he was amongst like probably 20% of Senegal that is playing, right, and the rest, the 80% that's left is playing soccer. So it was never like, yeah, I'm gonna make it in this sport. We were like, yes, basketball is just for fun. We know none of us are going to the league, right? It's not happening. So and then as I'm growing up, when I'm like around 15 years old, I see it kind of going further and further up. It's starting to get there. So there's more and more players, more
It's
and
on
more
the rise.
people. Yeah, it's on the rise for sure.
You would say it's
Yeah.
even maybe similar to Canada in that sense, and this obviously new resources being available within the community. So that's really cool to see. You spend your summers in New York,
Yes,
right? And I
yes,
believe
sir,
that
I
was
did.
for the first 10 years of your life.
Yes.
And you spent about 2 months every summer in New York. Talk about the basketball scene there.
Yeah,
Like, talk about
it's
that. And maybe some of the stories
Yeah.
of how that may have shaped you because you were so young, but
Yeah,
being
of course.
exposed to both Senegal during the winter time, then the summertime, spending your time in New York. Talk about that.
So yeah, New York was different, right? Senegal is mostly, there's a lot of cultures, but we kind of stick to like the Senegalese culture.
Yeah.
And then when we go to New York, I'm experiencing things I've never experienced before. Spanish people, all the Spanish Latino community that I lived in, and I saw a lot of Senegalese and a lot of like people from everywhere, basically, right? So playing with people like that, whether it's basketball or soccer or anything else, meeting these people is like eye-opening because you're not focused or have like a hallway focus on what life is, right? So playing basketball there is gritty, man. Yo, what? There's times that you're playing guys, they'll pull on your shirt, and you're like, yeah, you've never experienced it before, but it kind of turns you from boy to man, kind of. So you realize that, yeah, nothing is really that serious, and then, yeah, you just got to go get it for yourself, right?
How important was that change of scenery for you? Like, looking back on it now, being 20 years old, looking at those first 10 years of your life, getting to go from Senegal, living there, being in the same neighborhood for the majority of the year, to then go to New York for a couple of months and be exposed to a whole new culture, a whole new group of friends and stuff like that. Explain how important that was in shaping you.
I was pretty young, so I feel like it has an impact, but it's more so unconscious impact.
Yeah.
So it was more so in a sense of it's there and I'm having fun, but I didn't realize it until now, of course, right? So it was like I said, it was gritty. It shaped me in a way that I'm seeing different things. I know for a fact after 20 years that I would not have seen this in Senegal, right? And of course, I'm speaking English with a lot of people that are there. And then I thought I always had ties to New York due to like culture, hip hop culture, or what I saw on my phone, right? So going there showed me that this is not everything that you see on social media is true, and also that I'm not who I think I am, because of course at 14 you think that you're this little gangster kid or whatever, you're throwing up gang signs and you know damn well you're not affiliated.
Yeah.
So and then, eventually getting there and then meeting people that are going through that, having conversations with them, shows you where you want to go with your life, right?
Cool.
You know that you're not a thug, and then you're talking to somebody
no
that
question.
probably has affiliation, and he's like, yeah, this is not the life you want to live, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So,
I think being exposed to the reality of it and seeing real poverty, obviously not only being in Senegal, but also being in New York, you had different perspectives there as well.
Yeah,
And the amount of balance that there is in that world when you're involved with, impoverished neighborhoods. But yeah, I want to transition to the next stage of your life, going on to, speaking of education, with your parents having that influence on you, you then decided to take your talents to Ottawa and pursue psychology at Carleton University.
Yes, sir.
Talk about first, as a person, that transition coming to Ottawa. Because were you, correct me if I'm wrong, you were in New York prior to coming to Ottawa? Or in Senegal?
I was in Senegal for high school, so I graduated high school in Senegal, and then I came to New York for a break, and then I decided from then that I wanted to go to school in Ottawa.
Okay, and what was that first week like adjusting to being here alone by yourself, not really knowing anybody? Talk about that.
In Ottawa?
Yeah.
Oh, so it was rough because it's a whole new place, and then obviously it looks so much different from New York and Senegal. So I was trying to find adjustments and I have nobody here, but I was like, I chose it because I'm only like 6 hours away from family in New York.
That gave you comfort.
Yeah, that gave me comfort. So I was like, I knew anytime, like my first year here, I probably went back at least 2-3 times because I was missing home so much. But eventually I figured out that this is what I want to do. And I chose Ottawa because I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I didn't want to stay in the same spot for 20 years of my life, right? My mom always preaches traveling and figuring out what you want for yourself, and you have to open your eyes to the world, right? So yeah, I came to Ottawa, and school first year was horrible. Didn't go the way I wanted, but you know, we live and we learn, right? So
what happened that first year? What made
grades? So of course I took psychology because I did not know what I wanted to do. 12th grade, I have pressure from family, like, yeah, you have to figure out what do you want to do. This is what you're gonna do for the rest of your life. The major that you're gonna pick is what you're gonna do for the rest of your life. And of course, there's always some people that are in the positive telling me that, yeah, it's not that deep. Just pick what you want to do for now, and then you'll figure out the rest later. And then, yeah, first year.
Do you feel you put a lot of pressure on yourself due to the amount of weight behind that decision, especially based off of the influences in your life, on only preaching education, but preaching that you should go and you should go now and take this program, take this opportunity? Do you feel like you just put that on yourself more or less?
Yeah, more so on myself. No pressure from anybody else but me. Because my siblings, I had 2 older siblings, and then my sister did it in the U.S., and she did it at a time that we thought was impossible. My parents had university level education as well, but to see somebody that was close in age to us doing it, so we were like, okay, and she did it really, really well. So we thought it was possible, and we knew that we could do it, but we knew it was going to be hard. So, and then I set a standard to be like her, or like to be like the other people I know that went to university and that did amazing. So eventually I got there first year and I got a bad grade on my first exam, and I was like, okay, what's the next step, right? Yeah. What's the next step? I don't know what to do. And I probably went around in circles at least 5 times until the end of the year I didn't do too good, right? So that was majority in my major classes. And then I remember for the first semester, my parents had to call me at least 5 times, send me your grades, send me your grades. I'm like, yeah, I don't think you guys want to see this, man. But yeah, I did good on like all my classes apart from the major classes. Sure. And then that put more pressure because this is what you're supposed to do for the rest of your life, right? And you know for a fact that you don't want to do this for the rest of your life. Yeah. I like psychology, but I don't want to sit down with people and talk to them about their problems for the rest of my life, right?
Okay, that's fair. So there's a different angle you want to take with this degree and move on to maybe something like sports psychology, you shared with me, which we'll visit that more later. But who did you lean on during that time where things aren't going great and you're almost doubting yourself a little bit and you're putting more anxiety within yourself? Who are you leaning on to then bounce back and start improving over time?
I didn't really lean on anybody, and that was my problem. Is I thought I could handle it all by myself. I was like, okay, I'm gonna handle all of this by myself because of course I am who I am, and I'm telling myself I've put myself in this situation, so I have to get myself out of this situation. But of course I had support from my whole family, which is amazing, and I'm lucky enough to say that I did. But with support, you have to know how to use the support, right? I wasn't using the support as much as I should have. So I remember going back one after my first year and telling them everything. I wanted to switch majors. I was ready to drop out. And then my siblings told me something that I'll never forget: put your head down and finish it. And then once I gained that mentality, everything opened up, because putting my head down made me like, a lot of things were going over my head. Picked it up one more time, and then I noticed everything that was going over my head and everything I needed to catch on to, right? So yeah, it was.
What advice would you have for someone that may be in your position, that's watching from home, or someone that's getting ready to make that step to move across the world and pursue their education?
Just focus on what you have to do for yourself. And I think we get distracted a lot. I think that was another thing. I had a lot of distractions going on. Basketball was one of them, and I think I didn't use it as a tool. I used it as a distraction, like I said. Use it as a tool, right? Okay, if I have 10,000 assignments to do, I'm gonna do 2, and then to take the energy away and take all the overwhelmingness away, I'm gonna go play a bit. You know, I'm gonna go play.
So get a bit
I'm gonna calm down, get it done, get it out the way, and then so use the things that you love as a tool, right? As I said, my mom said it again. Like I said, always have a routine, right? And I hated having routines because routines means you're doing the same thing every day. And I think life is not cool doing the same thing every day, but it's not until now, these last few months, I understand that you have to have a routine that you love, right? You have a routine where you get up in the morning and do something that you love that is beneficial to you, that eventually for the rest of the day is going to benefit you. So just follow a routine. As lame as it sounds, it's really, really beneficial, and find something that helps you grow into what you want to be, right? So
I love it. And I think that's a perfect transition to how we met.
Of course.
So this is a great story. So basically, I played in a men's league, and I came across Edward, and I got invited to some private runs after a game. And I'll let you take it from there. What happened?
In the men's league and in the runs, I claim to be. I thought I was the best defender on my team. Thought, yeah, exactly. But
look at the camera.
I won't let you go too crazy on me. But
okay.
Yeah, you were killing it. Okay. And then so eventually I told one of my teammates I was guarding you, switch, and then I'll never forget you shot the ball and I turned around and you tapped me and you're like in your face. I was like, okay, wow. I was like, okay, that's how we're moving. All right. And then I even started pressing you again, another one. I was like, all right.
And it didn't matter.
It didn't matter. I was like, okay, all right, I see where this is going. And then eventually I saw you invited us for another run 2 days later. And then I think you might have noticed how I was playing a bit more lazy than I was before. And then you had talked to me, invited me to a couple of your fundraisers. And then eventually that was the distraction I needed in order to keep going. We had a few more conversations after that, and then led to December, of course, the amazing month. Yes,
December, so roughly 6 months after I traumatized him at our basketball runs. I had a good day. I'm not that good, but I had a great day that day, and I don't know, I was seeing green everywhere. So
seeing green.
I also, outside of my podcasting and my fundraising events, I also run a training business, and Edward was one of my clients that I brought on. Sure. And I had noticed with him while we were playing that you oftentimes needed an external motivation, right? You needed someone like me to talk a little junk to you, then you would start and getting ready, right? So oftentimes it's like you get punched in the face and then you're getting ready, right? So I was taking you through a workout, and it wasn't going great. And I said, listen, let's go upstairs, let's go on the treadmill, and let's just see what happens. And we get on there, and we are both running next to each other in separate treadmills. And I'm not in the best shape, but I'm in good shape considering my job. I sit down 8 hours a day. I like to train. So I said, let's run next to each other and see who lasts longer. Mm-hmm. So we get on there, and about 15 minutes in, he's getting heavy, and he's heavy breathing, and he's laughing and joking. And I'm dead serious, locked in, because I want to destroy him. I want to beat him. That Mamba mentality, right? Yeah. And he quits after 25 minutes. He was laughing about it.
I think you're being a bit too humble. It was like 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, I had quit.
We'll call it 25. Yeah. It was about after 5 to 25 minutes, he ends up quitting. And I took him aside and I said, listen, life is going to punch you in the face and you got to be ready for it and you got to wake up. And this may seem like just such a ridiculous type of way to look at it because we're just using a treadmill, but it spoke to him directly because I knew fitness was such a big aspect in his life because you just, like you said, growing up, it was your escape. But the same way and you had approach maybe with school where it wasn't that discipline, you had that same approach to life, you had the same approach to your fitness. It transpired everywhere. It was so relevant. And I could see that, and I wanted to make you so uncomfortable to a point where maybe you may dislike me in the short term, but you'll understand in the long run. And then it clicked. Talk about what that conversation, what happened, because I saw you like 6 months later, and you were a different person. So I want to have it come from you. What happened within that conversation that we had, where I sat you down, and I ripped you to pieces, but then instead of tearing you down and making it so that it forces you to be a shell of yourself, it actually said, you know what, I'm taking it as a challenge.
Mostly because you put everything I wanted to do into perspective, right? I came in and I think I told you, I wanted to be a pro basketball player. And then you put everything into perspective, the work that it goes into it. And of course, I think a lot of the times we hear about the work from pro players, but we don't understand the work that it requires. Waking up at 7 a.m. every day. 7 is even light. I'd say waking up at 5 a.m. every day, going to sleep probably at 9 because you have to put like 300 shots. And then I remember you gave me a challenge for that week to just do 300 shots a day, and I couldn't do it, right? So I was like, okay, is this really what I wanted to do? And I remember coming back from Senegal because that was the December winter break that I had gone. And then I missed it so much, it got to my head. I was more worried about the things that I didn't have than what I did have. So and then you put everything into perspective of, okay, what's plan B? What do you have to do next, right? I'm over here sitting, yeah, I want to be this, I want to be this, knowing that I'm not what I want to be right now, right? So I looked at myself, I got home, looked at myself, what do I want to be right now? Let me focus on right now. And then, yeah, that changed everything. Okay, I want to put on more weight, I want to be stronger, I want to be more explosive, I want to be, even if it's just, that's just the athletic side of it, right? And then eventually when it came to like the mental side of it and academic side of it, it's okay, who do I want to be? Not what do I want to be, but who do I want to be? I want to be a person that's like this to other people. I want to be a person that does this in school. I want to have good grades. And then eventually, like I said, again, the routine, right? I created the routine for myself, and then you gave me a routine every day. And I remember you text me when you're going to sleep, text me when you're up. And then obviously the first few weeks I was not following the routine. Yeah, I wake up at 7 a.m. I'm looking at this guy, 7 a.m. What? This guy's crazy, man. I got class, man. I can't be waking up at 7 a.m. So I was like, okay, maybe that's not such a good idea. I'd wake up at 7, text you, yeah, I'm up, go back to sleep and wake up at 9. But I was like, okay, I'm not only lying to you, but I'm lying to myself about who I want to be again, right? So, yeah, I decided, okay, for 1 week, I'm going to give it a try. And then I tried it for that 1 week, and I've never felt better, right? Yep. And then I was like, okay, so if this is how it feels for 1 week, how is it going to feel for the rest of my life? So,
no question, absolutely.
Yeah,
and I think honestly, like, I look at it as the way that I teach and I work with young athletes, it's always an emphasis on accountability, right?
Yeah, of course.
And sometimes people are driven by different things in life. For me personally, it's fear. Fear drives me, fear of failure, fear of revisiting and re-experiencing childhood traumas and things like that.
Yeah,
but
of course.
For you, I knew that if I just gave you a hard time, but emphasized when it came to showing you that I'm there to support you, but also holding you accountable to give you that tough love, that good balance there, I think that's what helped you flourish into who you are today. So honestly, I look at it and I don't even recognize you to who you were 6 months ago. And that's a testament to, it could be anybody. If you make that change and start with that routine, start with that first week, do it for a week straight, and it won't be smooth sailing. Like I spoke about it on the last episode with Zena when it comes to even starting my podcast. This has not been smooth sailing, right? Of getting this all together and getting it done. And life in general, it's not going to be smooth sailing. So my advice would be start with the first week. If you're not perfect, that's okay. Just try and stay holding yourself accountable as best as you can and keep moving forward. And like you said earlier, put your head down and grind it out. Yeah. Now, during that conversation that we had back in December, we had a real heart-to-heart, right? And I opened up about some situations I went through in my childhood, but more specifically was what was my distraction, what was my escape. And for me, as you know, and as maybe some of my viewers know as well, I'm quite open with it on social media. I lost my father when I was 13 to his battle with mental health. And for me, as much as basketball was pivotal for me to find my escape, I also had a negative aspect where it was marijuana. That was my vice and my thing I went towards. And there are medicinal, obviously, purposes and ways it can benefit you, but it can also be, like you mentioned with sports, how it could have been negative in your early education. It was a distraction, right? So for me, it was intense. It was every day for me. I woke up, I was at school, I would skip class, I would go do it. It would be before bed, it would be all the time, right? And I knew for you, after our conversation that we had after the treadmill situation, that marijuana was definitely a relevant aspect as to why your fitness was where it's at. Talk about the challenge I gave you during that week where I told you to quit, and how it was easy for you, if it was difficult. I never got to ask you that question, so tell me a bit about that.
It was relatively difficult. I was introduced to it, and all it takes is one hit, right? So I would take it once, and it was just recreational at first, right? And then recreational turns into a habit. So what do you do when you're having a frustrating day? Okay, I'm gonna go towards this thing. And then I told myself I wasn't addicted, but I was on the path to being addicted, right? Which is, okay, you're using it as an escape to what your life. And I'm telling myself, my anxiety. And I like to think that I'm pretty leveled out on my emotions and I handle it really well. But when you get to the point of you need a tool as marijuana to help you level it out, that's when you know you don't have everything together, right? So I had to come to the realization that I don't have everything together. And I think that was the hardest part, is realizing you don't have everything together and admitting that this thing is actually helping you. Because I'm looking at it as, I'm not addicted. It's just, I'm just having fun. I'm just, smoking with my friends, and that was it. And then, when I was in bed one day after we had our conversation, I was like, okay, I'm going towards addiction, right? And I'm going towards smoking every day. And then I realized this is not what I wanted to do, right? And in Senegal, we despised people like that. And I thought since I was in Canada, it's completely different. So I had to figure it out for myself as well that this is not what I want to do. I don't want to go towards this path of being a quote-unquote smoker. So I told myself, I'm done with it. And I stopped doing it for, I think, the first 2 weeks. I was on and off. And like I said, with following the routine, I tried the routine where I told myself strictly no, no, no. And then once your body is asking for it again, that's when you're like, okay, maybe I can do it one time, right? Maybe I can do it 2 times. I did it once. Okay, it's fine. Oh, I want to do it again today. I was like, oh, shoot, maybe I shouldn't be doing it again. I'm seeing myself getting drawn to it again. And then after that 1 week, I told myself strictly no. Yeah, I saw the results,
and
right?
everything changed.
Yeah,
That's
so
amazing.
I'm running on a treadmill for more than 30 minutes, right? I'm lifting, I'm looking
5 minutes, like you said earlier.
more than 5 minutes, right? So I'm lifting more than I've ever done before. I'm eating good, and it feels good, right?
And I want to test that
sign.
directly to not smoking anymore, but it's more about the routine. Like it made you not lazy, and more importantly, you removed a habit, you removed a vice and something you leaned on, and you replaced it with something positive. So I think that's the biggest takeaway from that. Now, there's a lot of young viewers there, or even older people, you never know, that maybe are trying to start that same journey, but maybe there's influences in their life, whether it be a roommate, a friend, or a family member that they smoke it all the time, they're exposed to it, and that for them it's hard to remove it, right? So what advice would you have for the person that's maybe exposed to it but wanting to quit, but it makes it that much harder when it's around you every day?
It sounds very generic, but tunnel vision. Tunnel vision is I'm gonna set my objective, and it's a lot harder than it sounds, but I'm gonna set a certain objective, and no matter what, I want to reach that objective. Like for a lot of guys in the gym, it's okay, I want to hit this weight and then be this lean or whatever. Or a lot of guys in school, it's I want to have these type of grades, but it goes even beyond that. I want to be this type of person in general. So that was what I was aiming for, and I think for a lot of young kids is, what are we aiming for? I know during my teenage years, I was aiming to be, I don't know, the next best basketball player, the next best athlete or whatever. And then you get obsessed with the aim, and then you want to follow it to the point that you realize, wait, I already reached that objective, right? So why can't I do it again? Let me go reach that objective again. And since I've done it once, and even if you haven't done it once, let me try at least for this 1 week or these 2 weeks, let me go and try to reach that objective. What happens if I don't reach that objective? Let me put some, not punishments, but let me put some negative reinforcements to myself so that once I do go back to it, like I do go back to smoking weed, I'm not allowed to have some things that I enjoy, right? So that was pretty much the process that I was following, and it helped me a lot, and I think it can help a lot of kids of, this is the objective I want to hit, and I know that this is not going to help, so let me go follow that objective and change my life, man.
Amazing. I love it. I think the tunnel vision is one thing, and that helps a lot in the goal setting and the discipline, but I think bigger than that, it's even setting boundaries with others and being firm about them, and boundaries with yourself. Like you're mentioning now, with finding ways that you can maybe look to motivate yourself or hold yourself accountable. But I think definitely if you're exposed to it and there's people around you, setting boundaries with them, communicating with them. And if you have to, if it's a friend, then you got to remove yourself from that environment with those people around you, right? So that'll be the advice I would give in addition to what Ed was saying. Now, 20 years old.
Yes, sir.
What's the dream scenario for you 7 years from now? Being my age, I hate to give the perspective, but that's my age. I'm 27, he's 20, so there's a difference in our ages there, but where do you want to be once you get to my stage in my life at 27 years old?
Honestly, I've been asked this question before of where I want to be, and I always don't know, right? And I think to this day, I have no idea, but I know what type of person I want to be. Of course, the aim is having a lot of money, right? But I want to be in a job where I'm happy. I'm happy about the job that I'm doing, and I know the influence and the impact I have on the people with that job. Like, the money is important and how much money comes in, but what is the influence that I have and what is the mark I'm gonna leave on everyone that's met me, right? am I going to be like, oh, this guy that's money hungry, or am I going to be this guy that, oh, wow, this guy changed my life? To your point, just like you, right? I'm sure that you've impacted a lot of people, right? And of course, there's no amount of money that can impact people, right? Obviously, financially it can, but no amount of money can
change and make real,
of
substantial, long-term, life-altering impacts. Because I can give you money, you can go and spend it, and then it's gone. Now you need more. Compared to like what you're mentioning, something more of substance, a way that can impact you. Example: sitting with you, having that difficult conversation, getting on the treadmill with you, embarrassing you. It was trying to expose you and kill your ego to then bounce back and make that real impact to see who you are today. So I think that's exactly what you're trying to say.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I'm just trying to reach that objective, right? In 7 years' time, hopefully I've reached that objective. I've probably even passed the objective, right? Okay, once I've reached that objective, what's the next step to pass it? Okay, so I've passed it, and am I comfortable now? Is this what I really want to do? And I never want to be in a position where I'm like, what the hell am I doing here, right? Sorry for my language, but what am I doing here, right?
Yeah.
So
what's the purpose? What's the point?
Yeah,
why
what's
are we
the
here?
point?
Right?
Yeah,
If you're not
sure.
going to make impact on others, and I completely agree with that. Hence, me even starting this podcast in the first place, right? So as you grow into adulthood, how have you seen temptations and distractions creep in? And I want to speak more into the sense of when you were entering adulthood to finding your independence and being in a new country, pursuing your education. What were little moments and cues you recognized within your daily routine that led you to, I can leave the school for later. Let me go play basketball. Yeah. Let me put the school down. Let me go smoke a little bit. Yeah. Like, how did you notice psychologically in your mental psyche? How did that creep in for you?
I feel like I'm really, really like overly self-conscious sometimes. So in the sense of I pay attention to a lot of my emotions. So I'm like, okay, right now I'm feeling really down. What is the things that can help me to get back up to the level that I want to be, right? And then most of the time, unfortunately, it was weed. I was telling myself, okay, I had a bad day at work today. What can help me right now? And that was weed, right? And then I told myself, well, most of my life it was basketball and sports. Why can't I just revert back to basketball? So I realized that the energy I was spending on weed is what I usually spend on basketball. So I told myself, let me go find positive ways of spending that energy and spending the excess energy that I have into putting it into something positive, right? Which is basketball. And then just by running back and forth on a court, whether I have a good game or a bad game, I know that after the game, I'm going to be at the emotions that I want, right? If I go 1 week without playing, I tend to be a little tense, right? I'm like, okay, I'm mad because I didn't get that energy out, right? And then basketball, during the winter, I didn't have access to it a lot, so therefore I was like, what else can help me with that? And then it was weed, and then I was like, what the hell am I doing? So therefore, after the conversations, I had to find other ways to spend that energy, and meditation, basketball, of course, as a Muslim, praying as well. So yeah, praying helped a lot. So praying and basketball were the two things that really, really helped me change my focus and where I want to spend my energy.
That routine, and that's amazing. I think, that's beautifully said. Now, at every podcast, as you guys can see, I always ask you the questions. I want to give you the chance to ask me any questions.
Of course.
Do you have any?
I wanted to first know about you. We talk about a lot about the click that changed my life, right? What about your click? What happened when was it that you saw that
happened
I had
for
to
me?
turn around?
Yeah, because there's many pivotal moments in my life I can look back on and think about, but I think it's always about, I go through something so negative and it doesn't take me long to bounce back. I've always been good with that, or experiencing negative situations and pulling and drawing the positive from it. I was 19 years old and I wasn't really happy with where my life was. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what my purpose was. I had no real sense of identity. And all I really knew was basketball was my escape and my fun. And it's a children's game, right? It's not something that I want to do in my adulthood. I didn't know how to, at least, because I knew I wasn't a professional basketball player. And I thought about, I want to make impact on this world that will last far beyond my time in this world. And I came up with the idea with Willpower Basketball, the not-for-profit. Truthfully, I was under the impression with myself that would be something I would do for a couple of years until I inevitably take my own life. And I wasn't in a good place when I started it, and I wanted to just build something great that would make great impact, but then be done with life after that, because I was in that deep depression, I was in that deep anxiety and having those negative habits and vices in my life at the time. And then through that journey, through that process, I learned to fall in love with life, to find my purpose, to find what really makes me feel alive in ways that it's positive and not so much, falling back on old habits like weed and things like that. So I would say those are my times that things have clicked. It's usually when it's just everything's gone to shit.
Of course.
Excuse my language.
Yeah.
But like it can only get better from here, and everybody has those days. And I think for me, it's just a matter of creating those days for myself rather than waiting for them to happen for me. I think I had that realization that I have to create my own reality, and I didn't look at what I want to be. I looked at who I want to be.
Yeah,
so
of
like
course.
you said earlier.
Yeah. Do you think it's reached what you wanted it to reach? In a sense of course, when you started it, you had some idea of what your goal was. Do you think you've passed that goal or reached that goal in some sense or no?
There's always more work to do.
Yeah, of course.
I look back and I'm happy with myself, with what I've created. I think that there are some things that I'm only one person. There's only so much I can do. There's only so many people I can help, and you can't save everybody. Some people don't want the help, and I think that's a lesson I've learned along the journey. But I think that it'll continue to be relevant in my life to want to give, to want to build and do things right for the community and for the youth. But at the same time, I have to understand that I am only one person. I can't put so much on myself. What's up, everybody? I hope you guys enjoyed episode 2 of the Willpower Podcast. As you can see, I'm going through the editing right now. Unfortunately, due to technical difficulties, I was unable to get the outro of the podcast itself. I just want to give a big shout out to Edward for showing up and doing this podcast with me, and thank you for tuning in. And thank you guys again for all your support so far. And I want to remind you guys to please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys for episode 3.